congrats on the American Open, man. Nothing but rave reviews from everybody that was there, and then obviously online, all the muscle jobber guys were going off. It was crazy. So congrats.
Oh, thank you. It was crazy to run 955 people in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we managed to have a ton of volunteers there, and it was just a blur Wednesday through Tuesday.
Right on.
So you were actually running it?
Yeah, so myself and Steph, my other half, were the co-meet directors. So
Okay.
ran the whole
Is your background weightlifting?
Yeah, so our backgrounds, both of us are in weightlifting. And we've got our barbell club, which has, we have 50 platforms now, and it's more than 50% of our gym.
Nice. I'd love to hear how you're making money off of weightlifters, because I have not found the way to do so.
Yeah,
I used to have 20, because my background's weightlifting. I've been studying weightlifting for about a decade now, and that's how I got into CrossFit. I went to a USAW cert, my first USAW cert probably 2004, 2005, and all these people had CrossFit shirts, and I was like, what the hell is this? So that's how I got it actually introduced into it, so it's kind of funny.
It's, for us,
I used to have
youth now. So we found our big focus now is just trying to get the youth involved and building the youth programs. And so the parents want their kids to do something that's going to make them good at sports later on.
Yeah.
If they're not in Olympic lifting is the way to go, and
nice.
So we're finding that a huge subset, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, because I forget, it was somebody in Mad Labs, I don't know who it was, that I think it was probably Patty who said that, well, I think it was Dave. I think it was the first time I had my interview with Dave, the first interview we had, he said, CrossFitters and weightlifters take the most of your time and pay you the least amount of money.
So true.
And I looked at my, 25 to 30 competitive weightlifters, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore because I'm not making any money off of you, and you are taking literally all of my time.
Yeah, that's a big challenge.
So,
but you also want to be able to be a professional coach.
Yeah, and there's a balancing act of, I love my sport, I want to progress my sport, full time. But at the second, I have a child and a mortgage, and I have a business partner that is trusting me, and all of that. So I learned very quickly once we started doing, especially with our our legacy members, that the weightlifting, my coaching of weightlifting didn't stop. It got bigger, but my demographic changed. So I probably have Olympic weightlifting only PT, probably 10 hours a week, and most of which are middle-aged women that are doing that PT, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The 99% that are actually going to be paying your bills.
Yeah.
The ones that are coming in and they're on the all-you-can-eat membership, they're gonna eat all they can. That's
exactly.
Sold. It's not really their fault. That's just the system that's been created that they understand that's the way it is, and that's the status quo that we fight.
Yeah.
So
definitely ways.
So David, what did your gym look like in terms of structure and so on your first day? What did it look like? And then what was that sort of turning point for you when you said, you know what, this has to change?
Well, day one, as in 3 years ago when we opened day one, or Mad
When you
Lab?
opened day one, you opened your door for the first time. I'm now in business. This is day number 1 on the calendar, our first ever WODs on the board. Got day one. What was your structure like? And then what was that like?
Okay, so let me tell you, I helped open a CrossFit gym probably 6 years ago, and it wasn't a perfect fit, so we decided to separate, which was a good thing. And I found I actually introduced my business partner to CrossFit probably 2 years before we opened. And he just finished college and decided that he kind of wanted to do this. So we sat down and talked to figure out what was best. So day one, let me tell you this, we were like old school CrossFit in that, and mind you, this is not, doesn't mean we're any better or anything like this. We had a little bit of money. We bought as much equipment as we could. We got a building that was 1,600 square foot. I had about 20 personal training clients, and that was actually our base when we started. So I took, now talking about it, it's hilarious to think, like, what I was doing and what I jumped into was literally the exact opposite. So, like, when I started, I should have just kept personal training at the gym and slowly progressed like Greg did. But instead, we took our base of my PT clients and put them into our classes. It was good for them because they weren't paying me, $45 an hour, but it was a baseline. So we started first day moose cocking it up, man. We tried to get as many people in as we could. I called everybody that I knew. I sent messages to everybody. And mind you, now, looking back, and I was 27 years old with a PT degree and a lot of schooling in exercise science, nothing in the business field. We had, I think our overhead the first year was less than $1,000 a month, okay? Our entire overhead was less than $1,000 a month. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I've opened a gym in one of the best areas in town. We have little overhead, so $100 a month is really reasonable for our area. It's probably cheaper, and a lot of people are going to come to our gym because of it. That was the case. A lot of people came to our gym. At one point, we probably had 150 members at our gym paying $100 a month or less, because some people, we even said, well, if you can't afford that, just let us know what you can afford. And, we'd have people that are paying $50 and people that are paying, $60. And we just said yes to everybody. Now, in my mind, as a guy that, wants to help as many people as I can, I just said yes to everyone, and that is so not what we should have done looking back at it. But we outgrew our space and moved into a space a year later at about the same membership, probably 125 to 150. We moved into a space 3 times the size. Our overhead tripled, if not quadrupled, and we didn't go up in price. We kept the same price. So we had, our turnover was up and down. It wasn't bad, but it was up and down. I had some little PT here and there. For the most part, we just had, we'd look at the end of the month and just hope we had a couple extra clients and hope that we had made an extra little bit of money. So before all of this, I'd tell you, we probably had 5 or 6% profit because we weren't paying ourselves. We didn't pay ourselves for the first 2 years. And mind you, we didn't have any debt. We didn't have, really, besides our overhead, we didn't have any debt. We were buying equipment when we need to. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't good. If we looked at, the bottom line, yes, there was growth, but it was not growth that we were really excited about. So when Brad and Jonathan, when I heard about Brad and Jonathan opening the gym down the road, number one, Jonathan messaged me and said, hey, I'll go to breakfast. And of course, the a-hole that I was like, yeah, I'll go to breakfast, but I'm going to be really mean. And I was really mean to Jonathan, like a jerk. And that's like so not my personality. And we had breakfast. I remember saying something, and I felt so bad about it when I got home because I was so, it was jealousy, and it was like I looked at their space, and more power to them, the most unbelievable space I've ever seen. It's gorgeous. It has an unbelievable location about 2 miles down the road from us on the same road. And in my mind, I'm thinking, these guys are coming in on our turf, and there's this unspoken rule that, you don't do this, and you don't, which is so stupid. I mean, it's business is business. Excessive. And I had this conversation with Jonathan, and I left like, go for it, bro. But I remember saying it. I'm so embarrassed I'm even saying this out loud. I told him to his face, I'm not happy that you're here. And I look back at that now and think, like, how dare you talk to a human being like that? So, like, 6 months later, I'm a pretty spiritual guy, religious guy, and God laid on my heart, like, hey, you were an a-hole, and you need to go over there and talk to him. So I was driving by, and I drove in, and I pulled up, and you could see on his face like, "What are you doing here?" And I walked in. I said, "Hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, real quick, man, I was a huge a-hole, and I'm really sorry." And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, you were, but it's okay. Let's get through it." And from there on, man, like that just says so much about the vision that Brad and Jonathan have for the area. And if we look at a big picture, if we're really trying to help as much people as we can, working hand in hand is the best way to do so. So from there, I started having lunch with Jonathan here and there. We talked here, talked there. I text him, "How you doing?" Just small talk. I went over there one day, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we're changing our business model." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're doing PT only." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, the only way you can come to our gym is, $60 an hour, at least 12 sessions."
Hells
And
yeah.
and I was just like, "All right, bro, good luck." And I remember going back to my gym and talking to my business partner. I'm like, "I don't know what the heck they're doing over there, but there's no way that's going to work." Then I went back again, and he sat down. He's like, "Man, I'd love to tell you about this. I mean, you got to buy in. They're not going to tell anything, but you need to, you need to really look into this." So I sat there and talked to him, and kept talking to him, and kept talking to him. The more he talked about it, the more it made sense. And the more he said, "Hey, this is the real deal. Patty and Dave have been in this since day one. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly." I messaged, I talked to my business partner. I said, "Hey, I want to look into this." I had my first meeting with Dave, and when I sat down and talked to Dave, I was like, "I'm sold. I'm bought in." So let me tell you this. If it was not for Jonathan and Brad saying yes to us, my life would be completely different than it is now. So this is pre my wife having a baby, my business partner got married. What has happened in the 8 months that we've switched is we've gone from making anywhere from 5 to 6% annually to this year we're already up for 40% in 8 months. So I want to thank Brad for that, and I want to thank Jonathan for that, but I also want to thank this community that has been so open arms to us, and I think it's the actual backbone of what is so attractive about CrossFit, that we're all there together. We're all trying to work together. And, I get emotional about it because, it's changed my life. I'm able to pay my mortgage. I'm able to, buy diapers for my daughter. I'm able to even buy my wife some for Christmas, which is huge, So that's kind of from day one to, 3.5 years later.
That's amazing. No, thank you. I can't thank you enough for all that. That's absolutely awesome. So, immediate segue, Brad. Tell me about how you guys started, Brad. We gotta hear you. You're driving there. I want you to be safe, but
yeah, no problem. I'm actually heading over to Dave's place. I'm heading to Greenville to the gym right now. So
even better.
So I've been in CrossFit since about '09. I started in Houston, Texas, and if you're familiar with the Mad Lab group history, you guys know that when they first started, there was a guy from Austin named Jeremy Field, JT, that runs CrossFit Central. That was very involved in the development of the school and the schools with Patty and those guys. So rewind back to 2009, I was getting involved in CrossFit, learning about it in 2010. I started coaching and helping a gym over there. I got to be good friends with the owner named Jeff Stidham. The CrossFit was CrossFit Point Break. He was one of two in North Houston in 2009, 2010. There was only two. And we moved his location. We were straight Moosecock. We were looking for, we knew that wasn't feasible. We saw people doing Groupons. We did Groupons. We get people in. I'd have 30 people in an on-ramp. We'd run through 3 sessions and throw them in class. We're like, dude, this isn't working. We got people that can't even do a deadlift. So we knew something was wrong. So he went and talked to JT, and JT said, yeah, I've got this thing. He actually developed a semi-Mad Lab group in Austin called the Garage Gym Blueprint. This was 2009, 2010, 2011. You can go to him and pay $1,000, and you can learn all his methodology. And it was basically what Mad Lab Group is today. Basically, coaches were professional employees. They managed their group class time sessions, increasing scale on how many people were in their classes. Then they sold PT on the side to to subsidize that income. So I knew that I had all that documentation. We bought into that plan. He went to the training. So I knew that was the way to do things. I just didn't know how to transition. So through a bunch of personal relocation stories and stuff, we got to Greenville, South Carolina about 6 years later. And I knew, and that helped from the gyms that I helped in Houston. When we left there, we were in that same Houston 10-mile radius. We were one of 32 in that same radius in 4 years from when I started. So the growth was exponential. And we started out of that one gym. We started 8 gyms out of that one gym for people that wanted, hey, I want to start a gym now. Yeah, it was insane. So we got a lot of practice. We got a lot of practice on starting people up in Moose Cock. So we were really good at that. But I knew that it wasn't a sustainable business because I saw, hey, we would bring people in, we would train them up, they'd coach, they'd get tired of coaching, they'd go start their own gym. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then you know, I'd actually met with Donna and Mike down in Florida because my parents lived down there. And through the years, I get to know those guys, and they were involved in the early on Mad Lab group stuff. So they had a little different approach. So I could kind of tell that they had it on lockdown too. So I knew that was kind of where I wanted to end up going once we got a gym started. So fast forward to Greenville, we still, you know, like Dave told the story, Jonathan and I met by chance. He was coaching in a different gym, so I poached him out of another gym, Moose Cocky style, right up. But it just
that was a big deal. I remember that happening. Like, oh man, Gunther's gonna go start a gym. Like this is it's gonna be incredible.
As long as you get the draft pick, it's all good.
Yeah, the thing was, he was looking on his own, and I didn't approach him, actually. It was through a chance conversation that I had one day working out at his gym that he was looking for a new place, and we started talking about the location. He was looking at the same location I had already actually started negotiating a lease on, and I have a full-time job, so I knew I couldn't run the business, the day-to-day operations, so I needed somebody to do that for me. And Jonathan, and like Dave saying, Jonathan's one of the most stand-up guys you could ever meet. So it was a no-brainer when we went look for the building. He's like, I'm in, let's do this. So we opened day one our gym in Greenville, Moose Cock, straight up Moose Cock style. We didn't do a Groupon. We did a grand opening. We had 0 people day one. We signed up like 46 the first day, and then I think it was that was October. I made the first contact to Dave in January. We did our face-to-face in February. We bought in August, and then we implemented in November that next year. And we, you guys know the story. Once we implemented, we went up 60% revenue that next month, and we haven't slowed down since. So it's been great. So we were straight Moose Cock. We didn't do any intro at all. We did one free class, come try it, and then you could get into classes without anything. We were the advantage that we had though was that everybody that we had in our gym was basically 35 and up, and there was no competition or competitors. So we basically were doing air squats and push-ups for workouts. So we had a fundamental base programming, and so we weren't really doing any complex movements. So that was a good choice on Jonathan for programming to keep it really simple for basically the first year. So that was a good call. But that's where we were, and that's where we are until we transitioned. So that's our story.
Oh, that's a great. Brad. Thank you. That's a great story there. So now that's sort of how you boys started. So Dave, we'll go back to you there. Tell me about the change. Tell me about. We are all Mad Lab. We do know what's going on, but tell us about the massive differences in the change since you got off the Moose Cock real quick.
Well, let me tell you this. What I've seen, between me and my business partner and the gym as a whole, and now hiring people, I think what Mad Lab has done is kind of highlighted what each of us are best at. So remember we were talking a little bit about weightlifting, and I've been studying for a long time. I know a lot of people. I'm known for weightlifting, this and that. But what I found out after going through school and talking to more people and reading and understanding my role is tremendously different than what I thought it was going to be when I decided to start a gym. I wanted to do, I'm a level 2, I got national level weightlifters, I want to move on to international coach, I want to move on to senior international coach eventually. And eventually, I thought that's not what I'm best at. And what I'm best at is building relationships. And really, at the end of the day, that's all this is building relationships. So when we sit, and I'm telling you, and this is what I told Patty too, and it might have been you guys. I don't know. I heard it from somewhere. You know, I hear so much and I read so much. But the biggest selling point that I've had when on switching was that we're not selling a commodity, we're selling a relationship. So when we decided to switch, it was a headache because one, I had to have, as COO, I had to have that conversation during our town meeting. I had to switch everyone from MindBody to Zen Planner, and now looking back at it, that was a huge mistake. And I give Brad and Jonathan a hard time. They should have told me to do Wodify the whole time. We had to switch that, and that was a pain in the rear end. We had to basically talk our legacy membership, what we were doing, and a lot of people are like, "There's no way this is going to work. I don't think this is the right choice for us." And big picture, we knew we'd lose a little people here. We actually didn't lose any people because of it, but the first month, I mean, it was so clear that this is what we had to do. I had I set up, we completely renovated our website, which was a pain in the rear end that I had to do myself. We set up everything. I'm talking to John, I'm talking to everyone I could. And once we finally decided to jump into it, it was like no one said no. I mean, no one said no. We showed them what they were looking for, and what people are looking for is building relationships with people. And when we showed them that this stuff is for them, and it's not just about being jacked and being able to do muscle ups, and not wearing shirts and stupid stuff like that means nothing. That they're actually building relationship with real people that love them. If you can show these people that you love them, which I truly do, I love every person in here, and let me tell you, I know everybody's name, I know everybody's middle name, I know their spouse's names, I know where they went to school, I know if they have a master's degree, I know their kid's name, I know where their kids go to school. That kind of stuff is what builds relationships. And once we decided that, yes, programming's important, yes, having a nice a nice facility is important, having good real estate is important, but at the end of the day, if we love our people, their people are going to love us. So, I think Patty was the one that said is like, if you love your people, they're going to want to help you financially. So if you love your people, they're probably going to want to do more PT with you because they know that that's how you make your living. So, it was a Band-Aid to pull, to start and say, hey, listen, and, my business partner was a little, it was different for him, and, eventually when we showed him what this could do for our gym, he was all hands-on. My background is personal training, so personal training was never an issue for me. I love doing personal training. That was fun for me. But for the most part, once we decided, I mean, it was 100 miles an hour in the opposite direction, and I can't ever imagine looking back. Hindsight's 20/20, but you got to learn from your mistakes. And when new gyms pop up here and there, I'm always like, I really want to talk to them, like figure out what they're going to do. And it's a tough balancing act of do we want to let them know because we know that it's going to fit our system, like the Upstate Mad Lab group that we talked about, with Brad and Jonathan and Todd and Brandon and Bo. All of us make sure that it works for everyone there.
Right. So that said, David, I'm going to switch over to Brad for just a second here and just get you to tell me, Dave's alluded to a relationship that you guys have. Tell me more about that, and why is that vital to you guys succeeding? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it goes back to again, the big picture of not just the gym or the business, but exactly what Dave's saying. It's building relationships. So
right.
If you're going to be successful in life, you've got to have positive relationships, because relationships and who you know gets you places in life. It's not what you know. I'm in the industry. I'm in the energy industry. It's my professional job, and even that, having professional relationships over there is really what makes you successful. So we just knew when Jonathan and I started, we knew that Dave and those guys were probably going to be upset, but we knew that any benefit that we could give to those guys, or utilize their expertise, or anything that we learned was going to be positive to share, because we know at the end of the day we want everybody to be successful. And I've used it before, I've heard it before, that we don't really compete with other gyms, even gyms 2 miles down the road.
Nope.
We compete against the couch. I mean, there's people in America are so inactive, and if you're looking out today in our society, the people are so detached. They want to be loved, like Dave said. They want to be a member of something, and they want to be in a community of like-minded individuals. So what we offer in the physical fitness realm and in that community is second to none. For a coach that loves you in that environment, it just like Dave said, it sells itself. But then if you take it even further and you extend that to other business owners, I mean, it not only makes your life so much easier, because you don't have to worry about somebody trying to undercut you, or somebody bad-mouthing you down the road, or somebody that, like if somebody comes to my gym and they're not a fit for us, hey, there's another gym and those guys, they do a lot more weightlifting, or they have a different style of coaching or a different community. Go check them out. I'm going to refer somebody to Dave or another Mad Lab group gym that I know is a professional facility than I would as opposed to a moose cock down the road that they're going to go in and get hurt. So just the standardization of the professionalness that we have, knowing that all their coaches go through the school, knowing that basically they've got that higher moral standard, and that's really what we're talking about, is that you're gonna, I don't care if you're Christian or Muslim, but if you love people and you have that higher moral standard, then you're going to be successful in this industry if you do what the group has.
Hey, going hand in hand in what Brad was saying, like you'd be surprised, and I think Jonathan would say the same thing, because we have such a standardized ideology in that we do the exact same thing as Five Forks does down the road. People walk into our gym monthly that are saying like, hey, we're kind of like halfway between you and Five Forks, and we're trying to figure out what works best for our schedule and what works best for driving. And you know how many times, like, it's so nice that I don't have to compete for that person, because I know I can say, well, here's the thing. We have the same ideology. We love those guys down there. They run their gym just like we do, a very professional gym. You're here already, so you might as well sign up with us. And I promise you, it's happened to... No, I'm serious.
I love that. I love that. Well, you're standing right here right now. You may as well. It's just as good as going down the road.
And Jonathan said the same thing to me, that they've had people that have thought, we're kind of thinking between you two, and they had the same conversation. Well, you know what? We have the same business model. We do this, we do that. Very, very similar to Southern Moon. We love the guys down at Southern Moon, but you're already here. You might as well sign up for a first day. So it's... that competition thing, and to go back to the competition thing, you got to understand our market. So yes, we're in Greenville, South Carolina. You've probably never heard of it before in your life, but Greenville, South Carolina is growing economically faster than any other city in the entire country. There is more money being dumped into this city than anywhere in the United States. Okay, we have huge industry here. We have Michelin, we have Fluor, we have GE, we have Caterpillar, gigantic companies, and people are moving here by the droves, okay? So if any direction that I'm pointing, whether I'm pointing towards Five Forks or pointing towards downtown, there's 120,000 people in that direction. So the word competition is so stupid in our industry, and what Brad said is we're not competing between ourselves, we're competing against the couch. If 1% of Greenville County is doing CrossFit, every CrossFit in Greenville will be full with 400 or 500 members. So to think that there's any type of competition is just silly. If I'm doing my job and Brad is doing his job and Jonathan is doing his job, all it's going to do is help us. Because what's happening is everybody is having better experiences with CrossFit. The people that do the Groupons, the whatever, they go to this gym, be thrown into it. You have one shot to make an impression. If in the impression they get is stand off people without their shirts on, doing muscle ups and doing heavy snatch and clean and jerk, they're going to walk away from that almost 100% of the time. Whereas when we build a relationship and go into classes knowing vocabulary, knowing where everything is, knowing our ideology and understanding, everything that we do, the retention value, doubles, triples, if not quadruples. So the competition thing is so silly when I look back at it now, and I'm embarrassed, the relationship how we started, but knowing that we both run the same thing is just such a load off my back.
That's awesome. Both of you managed to say that the competition edge is the couch, and that's what you're competing with. You're competing with bad nutrition habits. You're competing with drive-thrus. You're competing with Netflix. You're competing with the couch.
Yeah, I
not
compete,
each other.
I compete with that too.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And whiskey.
Well, whiskey's our friend. Whiskey is our friend. Yeah. You haven't lived really until you've tried Canadian whiskey.
I'm a Canadian whiskey guy, to be honest.
Right on.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's only one kind of whiskey, and it's bourbon Kentucky, boys. Come on now. Let's not get crazy.
That's not whiskey, my friend.
That's right. That's bourbon. That's bourbon. It's a different level altogether.
Exactly. That's bourbon.
Different level.
So, boys, before we started going live, we made a comment. I want to get one of you to run with this ball yet again. You guys are unique. You get along. Your neighbors. Not every other community out there is like that. I'm in a volatile area where most of the gyms don't really like each other and have nasty stuff to say about each other. Chandler over there, he's in a reasonably friendly area, but not everything is like Greenville or Reno, right? Some places are like, Southern Ontario, where people have some nastiness to say about each other, and don't exactly behave with with any kind of air of professionalism or anything like that.
Yeah.
And don't want to just shit talk each other. So that said, we're going to fast forward, use our imaginations for a little bit. Fast forward 10 years into the future. Where do you see the CrossFit world going? What do you see, you guys?
Go for it, Brad.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So, it says a lot about the character of our people. So I've been around for a long time, and people know who I am. I'm not trying to sound like a douchebag, but that's just how it is.
Oh, that's
my business partner is probably top 100 fittest human beings on the face of the earth. So that is one of those things that kind of attracts a lot of people to our gym. But at the end of the day, like, what makes us successful and why this relationship has worked so well is because I think it's just the character of the owners around here. So there's 2 other gyms in the Greenville, the upstate area, that are Mad Lab gyms, and we'd love to have more. But it says the character of Jonathan and Brad, and the character of the other guys around town. Like, that feeling when you go to a CrossFit competition, and you're like we have one at our gym this week, and I remember the years prior to us doing Mad Lab. I wanted to, flex my chest and show my gym and how many people are in our gym and like that kind of stuff.
That's just a dick measuring competition. Yeah, exactly. We know it, man. That's all it is.
And once you finally let go of that, it completely opens you up to say, you know what, there's a better way to do this. And if we are nice and love the gyms around us, it's going to differentiate us. Okay, so what differentiated Five Forks, yeah, they have an unbelievable facility. I mean, it's gorgeous. It has everything you could ever imagine. But what was different was Brad and Jonathan, and that's what drove me to going back and saying, all right, I'm a jerk. Show me what's going on. So if it wasn't for those 2 and the character that they had, we wouldn't be doing this. And there wouldn't be 2 other gyms that we decided was a good fit for them, for 2. So 10 years down the road, do I think, yeah, there'll probably be a couple other Mad Lab gyms, there'll probably be a couple more CrossFit gyms. But, man, I don't know, like, because we've talked to other CrossFits in the area, like people that we really like, and think that it might fit for them. Because, be honest with you, probably half the CrossFits in Greenville are hobbies. Like, they have a full-time job doing something else. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to they have money to go buy some equipment and do this and that, and they run it like a hobby. And then there's 4 or 5 other guys that are running this moosecock ideology, and they think they can continue to push this. And we show them that there's something different, and they're so addicted to it that they can't say yes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be a slow process. I know MATLab's been around for a couple of years. I think it's slow growth, but I think slow growth is better growth. You guys were taking in 20 or 30 new gyms every month or every week. One, that growth wouldn't be sustainable, and 2, we wouldn't have these conversations that we're having now, building a foundation of what works and what doesn't work. But I think in 10 years, Greenville's going to be a completely different thing. I think we're going to see a whole lot less of these, pop-up, small investment, key open gyms. I think that's going to be a thing of the past.
Right.
I think there's going to be a lot less of that, hobby-style CrossFit in town. And I'm telling you, like, gyms looking into what we're doing and what Five Forks is doing and what CrossFit Reaction's doing and what Proverb is doing, they see something different, and they ask questions, like, are you guys doing well? How many members, this and that? And, I get to, it's seriously, like, again, I'm a religious guy, but it's seriously like showing them what the Bible talks about. Like, this is the Bible of fitness. And I think the more that we're accepting of it, I think it's going to show more to our area. And yeah, I mean, things are going to change. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, 10 years. I think there's a lot of play that will impact the industry as a whole. And for us and for MATLab gyms in general, it's a positive, because I think the biggest thing that's flying out there is the licensure deal, right? So if that gets passed, you'll see a famine of gyms just closing down, because you'll see people that won't want to go get their NSAM or any of the certifications that they'll need to do, because they want to be CrossFit gyms, and that's it. That's all they wanted to be. So for us as professional coaches and professional gyms, we're not opposed. Jonathan has his. I bet Dave has his or had his one time. A lot of the professional coaches are looking outwards and trying to expand knowledge. And so for us, it's not that big of a deal. So, 10 years from now, like Dave's saying, the hobby guys go away. The guys that, obviously, you're going to have the continual burnout and the turnover. And it's really funny how CrossFit doesn't report any numbers of gyms closing down still. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
that is up for yourselves pretty much.
Yeah, but so, I mean, I think you're going to see it has to come to some stabilization eventually, because people aren't going to want to take the gamble and spending, even a small gym, to open a small gym is 10, 20, 30 grand, just in equipment and lease and build out, and, people are going to just say, well, I've got to go do that and take my level 1 for CrossFit and get a certification that's $1,000 online, and so that, the incentives kind of stop, the numbers just don't make sense anymore. Especially if licensure comes through and you've got to be a licensed, you've got to carry insurance to license that, and there's malpractice suits. And do you think you opened up the whole can of worms, Pandora's box, so to say, if that comes through? So 10 years, I think it's going to be a drastically different scene in CrossFit in general, but in the fitness industry as a whole. I mean,
right.
Some of the big box guys that are behind that stuff, I don't know if they're really realizing the impact it's going to have on them either. So I'm anxious to see, but I think professionalizing our processes and being with a group of professionals, we have a lot more flexibility and a lot more foresight to see where we need to go to be positive.
That's a pretty good prediction.
Yeah, and again, like, I've just hearing that from Brad, it's just more info that I haven't thought of, and now I have thought about it. So that's another small little thing that it's like, oh man, I just learned something over a podcast, and I'm glad that I have this guy on my side. I tell my coaches this, and I tell my I tell Jonathan this, I tell Brandon down the road at Reaction, the better that we do, the better you do. And I think if, just like we've been saying this whole time, if we stick together and we continually work on that standardization and of a professional owner operator, a professionally paid coach, and professional, and athletes that understand that, we're only going to progress. Yeah, it might look different, and the NASM stuff and all that stuff. I mean, it's scary, and there's a lot of things that could be changed in the next couple of years. But again, if we have the capabilities to communicate like Mad Lab allows us to do, we're going to get through it. We're going to be the ones on top, and we're going to be the cream. And like even small things, like I don't know if that applies, but I think we're the ones that are going to be able to differentiate themselves from everyone else. And again, if Brad and Jonathan are succeeding, that means that we are succeeding, and that's such a relief. Like on our side, like that when I hear good things, like when we read the forum and I see this new person in and they're crushing, it's like it's just like solidifying what we are doing. We are doing something bigger and better and helping more people. Hey, Bob.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
If we can, the thing I just want to say on that is if we can we've all agreed through CrossFit methodologies and all sorts of exercise science documents and so on, we can standardize what we're looking for in a squat. So if we can do that, we should be able to standardize how somebody gets into a class.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a low-tech thing. It really should be such a low-tech thing as teaching somebody how to fucking squat.
Yeah, seriously.
If we can make it that simple,
Absolutely.
where Brad's going to teach somebody to squat the same way Chandler's going to teach someone how to squat, same way David's going to teach them how to squat, same way I'm going to do it, why the fuck can't we get everybody into the class the same goddamn way?
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree. And I think we've been talking about this relationship and building this stuff. Yeah, that standardized ideology is huge, and going into weightlifting, I think it's even more important. But that's a completely different topic and a completely different show.
And the problem is with the whole standardization. To do that one thing to get people into classes is you have to get people over the fear that, or you have to prove to people that basically if you do this the right way, the way we're going to show you, number one, it's better for the client. Number one, it's better for you because you're going to make more money and you're going to have a lot longer history and revenue base with that client. And number three is that what's the negative of this? I mean, like don't be afraid to be a professional. I mean, it's crazy how. I mean, do you like making money? Okay, yeah. Well, I can show you how to make money. You just have to do this. Period. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane.
And how many times, like when we were moosecocking, like when I'm sitting talking to somebody that is considering CrossFit, I'm trying to talk them into it. But like, well, this and that. Like when I sit down with somebody for the first time, I literally have them sold in the first 5 minutes, and I have their money. And the reason is because I sound like a professional. I know what I'm talking about, and I have data to back it up. That's what I say. I've said, listen, here's the thing. If you want to change your life, all you have to do is show up. I have data to back it up. I promise you, I have 150 people that are going to tell you the exact same thing. If you show up, life is going to change bigger and better than you ever imagine. I mean, it's not rocket science, okay? I mean, it's really not. Again, it comes down to being able to show that you're confident enough and you understand how to teach people and you understand how to read people relationally. And I'm telling you, I mean, it's 100% of the time. When I sit down with somebody and we go through everything, listen, we're a Porsche gym. You're going to have to pay for a Porsche price. Here's the thing. If you show up, life changes. And they say yes every freaking time. What's so hard about being just confident in what you believe in and how you do things? And I think that's another thing that what really changed our gym was actually collecting data. And that's something we haven't gone over. But, like, collecting data to have it to back up actually what you're talking about and to show, physical evidence of what we are saying works has been probably the second most important thing that we've done in our gym. Hello? Hello? Okay.
We look at everything as just being a professional, building your practice like you're someone who's going to their doctor, lawyer, any other professional. And all of us who aren't want to be equated to that professional practice. Then at the same time, it's building the ability to be in such unique relationships with your members that you know who they are, you know who their families are. You go to family trips with them, you go to the bars with them. You guys hang out because you really enjoy.
Do you know how many kids' basketball games I've been to?
I can imagine all of them.
Yeah, like
that's key,
that's like that's just something that you have to do. And it's not that I'm BSing them. I truly love my people, but that's part of building relationships. You have to love them in and outside of the gym. So like, my phone is ringing off the hook all day long with text messages, videos. What do you think about Snatch? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? But that's part of it, and that's what makes us successful, is having something bigger and better.
Oh, it's huge. And then on top of that, it's just being nice to your peers and going out and making friends. In my opinion, everybody should be out going to everybody's gyms, doing workouts.
Yeah.
And it's not like you were saying, beating your chest. It's about being there, having fun, having a good time. Like, who cares how well you work out? What matters is go there and that you guys are everyone's enjoying themselves and having the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Who cares how heavy your snatches and clean and jerk is? It's something that's part of it. But
what matters is that
it's not the most important thing. My daughter is coming into the podcast now.
there you go. Like, that's the de facto mic drop answer right there, David. It belongs to you, and it's that beautiful girl right there.
Yeah, and hey, you want to talk about run a gym? My wife's a 5th grade teacher, and I have the flexibility because technically I don't have a real job. I mean, obviously it is a real job,
right.
but I'm able to be with her, just me and her, 3 days out of the week by myself with her, and what's better than that? I mean, she comes to the gym with me at 6 a.m. We teach a class and do PT. She sits in my her baby Bjorn on my chest and just takes it all in. So that's part of doing life at a CrossFit gym, right?
That's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
One final thing for you guys. What would you say are some common mistakes you made along the way that could help others out as they transition over and start thinking about this kind of stuff?
Go for it.
You got to trust the system and just go, man. I mean, I think I think the
Hello, Brad.
Oh, he's frozen.
He's frozen. Well, I'll jump in. Know your worth and chart. I think that was one of those things that I didn't trust myself in what I did. Like, I knew that I had a good ideology.
And being at the summit in Vegas, you'll hear the same mistake made over and over. Is not going in all the way. Just buy into what the is for the group.
No.
I think you'll hear from people at Vegas and am I here? Still here?
Let's get a honeycomb or something.
You guys got me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Hello?
You're slightly less frozen on the screen.
I think you're losing.
Am I gone?
Scotty!
You sound hilarious, though.
Yes.
There you are. You're waving.
We're losing powder, Captain!
Well, how about I jump in, Brad?
There you go, Dave. Dave for the stage.
Anybody? Bueller?
You're cutting in and out, Brad.
I was just going to say the biggest mistake.
No.
That's a no rep, Brad.
Technology.
It worked so well until just now.
We're
I know,
doing so
that's actually
well.
pretty good.
Oh my God.
So
Daddy will make fun of us until his voice is sore.
So last thing I would say is know your worth and charge what you're worth. And that was one thing that really hurt me professionally for a long time. And once I understood what I was worth and started charging people what I was worth, I made a whole lot more money and our gym progressed, and I progressed as a coach. So this sound is hilarious. So, listen to people that are smarter than you.
I'm in Greenville.
Brad.
I'm in Greenville, almost to the gym. So,
well, I don't know if he can hear us. Brad, we can hear you.
Do you hear me? What's going on? I don't really hear anything.
All right, so I'll just jump back in real quick. Listen to people that know more than you and trust them. So, it was one of those things just like Brad said, is like you have to buy all the way in and you have to say yes. And once we said yes, everything changed. So, looking into Mad Lab, say yes. I'm telling you, listen to the people that have been doing it longer and understand more than you, and be open to new things. And once you open your mind to new things, you'll find that your methodology and your ideology is solidified even more by understanding what more people have done in the past.
I like that, Dave. You're basically saying go all the way in, not just the tip.
Yep. Yeah, and then that's when babies took.
There we go. Well, you got to leave it to me to say something strange.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't be myself. You follow my posts. You follow my posts.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, gentlemen, we're going to table this for today. Thank you so much for participating in the first ever GymminAintEasy podcast.
Yeah, man.
Clearly, Gymmin ain't easy. But you guys have done such a marvelous job down in Greenville, being basically neighbors within a mile of each other, and you understand the concept of abundance, and basically your lessons and what you've gone through and how you're operating is enough of a lesson for other owners out there that want to make a real difference, make a real living off of their passion. And you guys seem to be doing it right well. So thank you very much. So thank you very much. So on behalf of myself and the People's Republic of Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, I'm signing off from up here, and my man Chandler's going to close it out.
Yeah, so it just comes down to be a professional, know your worth, build relationships, be nice to your peers. They're not bad people. We're all great people. We're all together. We're greater than we are as one.
Yep.
And thanks again, guys. GymminAintEasy fun. I've been excited. And with this, we're signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
GymminAintEasy.
Later.
See ya.
Where's this going to be? Are you guys putting it on